Listen carefully. What if I told you that the very thing holding you back is not the enemy outside of you, but the attachments within you? What if I told you that freedom is not about gaining more, but about letting go of what no longer defines you? Woman, the time has come, not tomorrow, not next year. The time has come for you to step into the reason you were born. You are about to walk into a season where everything about you must align with heaven's original blueprint for your life. And to step into that season, you must master the power of detachment. When God formed you, He placed within you an assignment so specific, so sacred, that nothing on earth can replace it. But here is the danger. Too often, women tie their value to people, positions, relationships, or approval. You cling to things that were never meant to carry your destiny. And the moment you attach yourself emotionally to what God never ordained, you dilute the clarity of your calling. Detachment then is not rejection. It is refinement. It is the evidence that you are ready to walk in purpose. Every time heaven wants to advance you, God will require a release. Think of Abraham. He could not embrace the promise while holding on to Lot. Think of Ruth. She had to detach from her past in Moab to embrace her future in Bethlehem. Woman, your destiny does not travel with everything and everyone. There are people who were assignments for a season, not companions for a lifetime. The ability to let go is proof that you trust God more than you trust your emotions. Emotional maturity is the evidence of spiritual authority. When you no longer allow your heart to be governed by wounds, opinions, or the fear of rejection, you show heaven that you are ready to carry weight. For destiny requires a woman who can stand, not a woman who is tossed by every wave of feeling. Detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. It is the discipline of keeping your spirit on the throne and your emotions at your feet. Do you know why detachment is powerful? Because when you stop clinging to what doesn't define you, you finally see who you are. Some of you have confused attachments with identity. But the day you release what you thought you needed, you discover the woman you were always born to be. Your confidence shifts, your vision clears, and your steps become steady because you are no longer tied down by what was never yours. Heaven does not respond to begging. It responds to confidence. And confidence is born when you detach from what weakens you and embrace what strengthens you. The moment you stop needing validation from people, heaven begins to validate you before kings. The moment you stop chasing what is not yours, heaven begins to release what always belonged to you. So hear me carefully. Stepping into the reason you were born requires sacred separation. It means understanding that not everything and not everyone can go with you into the next dimension of your life. Purpose is weighty and it demands space. You cannot carry dead weight and expect to fly. The eagle soars because it does not travel with crowds. It detaches, it rises, it ascends. Woman, you are stepping into the reason you were born. And the proof is this. You are learning the power of detachment. You are learning to let go so you can take hold. You are learning that separation is not loss, but positioning. You are learning that every release makes room for heaven's greater assignment in your life. Detachment is not the absence of care. It is the presence of clarity. To detach does not mean to disconnect from love, compassion, or responsibility. It means to align yourself with the truth of who you are and why you were created. When a woman's worth is tied to the shifting opinions of others, her life becomes a cycle of instability. One day she feels strong because others applaud her, and the next she feels small because they criticize her. That is not freedom, that is bondage. Detachment is the discipline of no longer allowing your identity to be at the mercy of people's approval. It is the conscious decision to root your value in the design of God, not the demands of man. When you understand this principle, you realize that true attachment must only be to the one who formed you in the secret place. Every other connection, whether it be to people, possessions, or positions, is secondary. This is why detachment is not disconnection, but realignment. It brings you back into divine order. It reminds you that no relationship, no title, no role, and no earthly recognition can define the essence of your being. You're who God says you are, regardless of who embraces or rejects you. A woman who learns detachment walks in quiet authority. She can give love without becoming enslaved to the response of others. She can serve faithfully without making her service the source of her identity. She can walk away from environments that dishonor her because she knows her value does not decrease with departure. Detachment is not hardness, it is strength. It is the freedom to stand in the truth that you were created with intention and that your alignment with purpose matters more than your attachment to people's opinions. Purpose demands focus, and focus requires the discipline to guard your heart from distractions that drain your energy and cloud your vision. A woman cannot walk in the fullness of her assignment if she is emotionally entangled in places that weaken her resolve. Every time you give your emotions to battles that don't belong to you or to relationships that were never meant to carry you, you dilute the power of your destiny. Focus is not just about what you pursue, it is also about what you refuse to entertain. When your heart is scattered across too many attachments, your purpose becomes blurred. You begin to live reacting to circumstances instead of responding to calling. Focus requires the ability to filter, choosing carefully what deserves your energy and what must be released for the sake of your assignment. This is why emotional detachment is such a mark of strength. It keeps you from being pulled into storms that have nothing to do with your destiny. It allows you to keep your eyes on the path heaven designed for you, even when the noise around you tries to draw you off course. The woman who has mastered focus understands that her life is not random. She knows that every hour, every relationship, every choice must align with a larger vision. She does not waste her strength proving herself to people who cannot see her value. Instead, she preserves her energy for what God has called her to build, to nurture, and to release. Purpose demands focus because destiny cannot be fulfilled with divided attention. When you guard your focus, you guard your future. And when you refuse to let emotions hijack your vision, you prove that you are ready for the weight of your assignment. Seasons always change. And with every new season, God requires you to release something old. The principle of destiny is that you cannot step into tomorrow while still clinging to yesterday. Many women miss their appointed time because they are holding on to people, habits, or environments that no longer serve their growth. The truth is, not everything is meant to follow you into the next chapter. Some relationships were for your training, not for your lifetime. Some opportunities were doors to prepare you, not doors to keep you. Detachment becomes necessary when the season shifts, because holding on to what God has already finished becomes disobedience to his timing. Change is not always comfortable, but it is always purposeful. When you feel the inner stirring that something is ending, it is heaven signaling that something greater is beginning. If you cling to the familiar, you will delay the unfamiliar blessing waiting for you. The caterpillar cannot remain attached to the ground and still expect to become a butterfly. Transformation demands release. The same is true for you. Stepping into destiny requires the courage to let go of what you have outgrown. Every new assignment carries a new demand, and with it, a call to leave behind old versions of yourself. There are attitudes you cannot carry into your next level, fears you cannot afford to entertain, and voices you can no longer allow to shape your decisions. Seasons change when you accept that yesterday's attachments are not always tomorrow's companions. To embrace the new, you must unclench your hands from the old. Detachment then is not a loss. It is preparation. It is God making room in your life for the next dimension of His purpose to unfold. Your spirit must lead, not your emotions, because emotions were never designed to govern destiny. Emotions are powerful. They can inspire compassion, ignite passion, and give depth to human connection. But when emotions sit in the driver's seat of your life, they lead you into instability. Emotions shift with circumstances, but your spirit is anchored in truth. A woman called to purpose cannot afford to live a life dictated by feelings that change with the wind. She must rise to the place where her spirit governs her heart, her choices, and her direction. When your spirit leads, you operate from a place of clarity rather than reaction. You do not make decisions out of anger, fear, or insecurity. You make them from alignment with God's wisdom and your true identity. This does not mean you suppress emotions, but that you place them in their rightful position. They become passengers, not drivers. They inform you, but they do not define you. And maturity is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of emotion under the authority of your spirit. The woman whose spirit leads is steady. She does not crumble under betrayal, nor is she inflated by praise. She understands that both criticism and compliments can be traps if they sway her off course. Her peace comes from within, not from external conditions. This inner strength makes her trustworthy to carry weighty assignments because she is not moved by temporary storms. She can endure seasons of silence, seasons of rejection, and even seasons of uncertainty because her foundation is rooted in something deeper than emotion. To walk in destiny, your spirit must rise above your feelings, for only then can you remain unshaken and focused on the purpose for which you were born. Detachment reveals identity. Because when you stop clinging to what was never meant to define you, the truth of who you are begins to emerge. Many women spend years tying their value to roles, relationships, or responsibilities, believing that without these attachments, they have no worth. The danger of such thinking is that when those things shift, end, or are taken away, you feel lost. Identity built on what is temporary will always leave you insecure. Detachment strips away the illusions and brings you face to face with the unshakable reality of who you are in God's original design. When you release what does not belong to your destiny, you begin to see the woman hidden beneath expectations, labels, and limitations. Suddenly, the applause of people no longer defines you, and their silence no longer diminishes you. You are no longer enslaved to the need for approval, because your worth is not in what others see, but in who you were created to be. Detachment gives you the freedom to discover the you that existed before pain, before rejection, before the world told you who you were supposed to be. This is why some seasons of separation feel painful. They are not meant to destroy you, but to reveal you. The pruning process is never comfortable, but it is necessary for clarity. When God removes what you thought you needed, He is unveiling the strength, wisdom, and uniqueness already placed inside you. The more you detach from false identities, the clearer your true identity becomes. You stop living in reaction to others and begin to live in revelation of yourself. Detachment is not emptiness, it is discovery. It is the pathway to knowing yourself as God intended, whole and unshakable in purpose. Heaven responds to confidence because confidence is evidence that you believe what God has spoken about you. Confidence is not arrogance. It is alignment with truth. When a woman walks in confidence, she is not boasting in herself, but in the one who created her and placed his purpose within her. Confidence is the language of faith, and faith is what moves heaven. The moment you detach from fear, doubt, and the need for validation, you create space for divine favor to flow into your life. Heaven cannot endorse hesitation, but it will always back boldness that is rooted in God's word. A woman who is confident does not wait for others to affirm her before she steps into her calling. She moves with assurance that if God has appointed her, no one can disqualify her. This kind of confidence does not waver in the face of rejection, nor does it shrink under intimidation. Instead, it stands tall, knowing that heaven has already gone before her. When she speaks, her voice carries authority. When she acts, her steps carry weight, because confidence releases the fragrance of divine backing. Many opportunities are lost, not because the door was closed, but because fear kept the woman from walking through it. Confidence is the key that unlocks doors others are too afraid to approach. It is the evidence that you trust God more than you trust your circumstances. Heaven responds to confidence because it mirrors trust in divine timing and divine power. When you detach from insecurity and step boldly into who you were created to be, the resources, the connections, and the favor you need begin to align themselves. Confidence attracts heaven's support, and with it you become unstoppable in fulfilling your assignment. Stepping into purpose requires sacred separation because destiny is never fulfilled in the crowd. Every great calling in history was marked by a moment of separation, a time when the individual had to walk away from the familiar to embrace the divine. Separation does not mean isolation without meaning. It is the intentional removal of what hinders you from fully stepping into the weight of your assignment. There are places you cannot remain, voices you cannot keep listening to, and environments you cannot stay attached to if you are serious about your purpose. Sacred separation is a divine principle because God often calls his chosen ones into hidden seasons where he refines, shapes, and prepares them for greater responsibility. It is in those quiet moments of detachment that strength is forged, clarity is birthed, and vision is sharpened. Without separation, you cannot carry revelation. Without release, you cannot hold the new. A woman who resists sacred separation delays her own destiny because she is trying to carry into tomorrow what belongs to yesterday. There will always be a cost to purpose. The cost is often the comfort of what is known. Sacred separation asks you to trust God enough to walk away from attachments that dilute your focus. It asks you to believe that what is ahead is greater than what you are leaving behind. Every eagle must separate from the nest to learn to fly. Every woman stepping into her destiny must separate from what confines her in order to rise. Sacred separation is not rejection. It is elevation. It is the proof that you are being set apart for something higher, something greater, something eternal. It is the doorway through which every woman must pass to step into the reason she was born. Woman, you were never created to live small, confined, or bound by attachments that weaken your spirit. You were designed by heaven with intention, marked with destiny, and equipped with everything you need to fulfill your assignment. This is your moment to rise with clarity, to walk in confidence, and to embrace the sacred separations that position you for greater. Do not fear what you must release, for every letting go is making room for heaven's best. Stand firm in your identity. Lead with your spirit and step boldly into the reason you were born. Because all of heaven is waiting to back you the moment you decide to move.